going to look at the purpose for a time series data set. So the first thing we need to identify is what is the data that we're talking about. And in this case, we've got two types. We've got data from the Arctic and data from the Antarctic. So the Arctic, if I think about a map of the world, I think, well, where is these two places? There's my map of the world, New Zealand somewhere quickly down there. The Arctic is the area at the top. So that's the North Pole. And the Antarctic is the area down the bottom, the South Pole. So that's the first thing we need to identify. Then we need to know, well, what is the variable itself about? So our variable is about the area of sea ice. So we'll think, well, what's area? Area is the amount of space, and it's talking about how much area is covered in sea ice down in those areas. So let's think about different temperatures. If I take a glass of water, okay, and I put a piece of ice into that water, what's going to happen? Well, that piece of ice is going to slowly melt, because if it's water, that means it's above zero, so that means that will melt, which means our area would get smaller. So in warmer temperatures, we're going to have a piece of sea ice that's quite small. Okay, so that's in our summer. The area of sea ice is going to be quite small. Whereas if I was to freeze that glass, the whole thing's going to turn into ice, but there's going to be a lot more area covered in sea ice. So in our winter, it's a lot colder, so that means the piece of sea ice is going to be a lot bigger. Now we're going to look at the Arctic sea ice, so we need to think about these seasons being the opposite time for us. So when we have summer, they have winter, and vice versa. So in the Arctic, summer happens in which months of the year? Well, summer's going to happen in our winter, which is the middle of the year. Okay, so that's July, August time is when they're going to have their summer months. And winter is going to occur in our summer, which is our January, February time. Okay, so that's the first step, is to understand the data set. The next step is to think about, well, what is it that I want to know? And what do I know about the sea ice? Well, there's a few things that we could cover. So one of the things that I know about, I've heard about, is something called global warming. Okay, so that's something I could base my purpose around. What else could I do it on? Well, I also know that there are tourists, not a lot of tourists, but there are some tourism of people that go down to see Antarctic or the Arctic. Okay, they go and look at these massive pieces of sea ice and the sea life that goes on there. So I could base a purpose around that. And there are lots of other things. Alright, so you've just got to find and say, well, what is it that you know? And if you don't know anything, start a Google search with sea ice in the Arctic or Antarctic and see what comes up. So I want to build a purpose around global warming. That's going to be my reason. And what do I need? Now I need to think about, what is the know about global warming? Well, I know that global warming says that as the temperatures get hotter, and our temperatures are getting hotter, so our temperatures are rising over time. So if the temperatures are rising, what do I think is going to happen with the sea ice? Well, as ice gets hotter, then the area of sea ice is going to get smaller. So that's what I'm going to base my purpose around. Is I think that sea ice is going to be getting smaller over time because the temperatures are heating up due to global warming. And then I'm going to investigate this data set and see what the data set says. See if the data supports my idea or whether it says no, that's not true. So I wonder if the area of sea ice and that's in millions, I'm putting units here, of square kilometres, is increasing over time, possibly due, so I don't know for sure, I haven't proved it, possibly due to global warming. And there is my purpose